We have three types of stress that we process in the physical body. We have physical stress, that's like trauma, accidents, injuries, falls. And then you have chemical stress like toxins or pesticides or pollutants or viruses or bacteria or hangovers or nutritional deficiencies. And then you have emotional stress, right? And emotional stress could be family tragedies, car accidents, second mortgages, single parenting, 401ks, whatever that is. But each one of those things, physical, chemical, or emotional, knock the body out of homeostasis, out of regulation, out of balance. The innate capacity of the body when it's not overstressed is that it wants to always return back and regulate. It wants to return back to homeostasis. It wants to return back to order. And that's innate in us. That's an automatic process that's running through the autonomic nervous system. So we could say the job of the autonomic nervous system is to create balance and regulation and homeostasis, and it's automatic. And that part of the brain sits under the thinking neocortex, and it's called the chemical brain, or the emotional brain, or the limbic brain, or the mammalian brain. And it has all of those functions that make blood sugar balanced, hormone levels, digestive enzymes. It's doing what it can to take the body and constantly repair it and regenerate it and move it back into balance. All of those stressors knock the brain and body out of balance, and the innate mechanism, the stress response, brings it back to balance. Well, it just makes sense. If you keep knocking it out of balance over and over again, and you keep moving it out of homeostasis, that imbalance is going to become the new balance, and now you're headed for disease because that automatic system can't regulate order in the body. So a system then is compromised. The system breaks down. And so if it's physical trauma, your body can heal if you rest it. If it's chemical imbalance, you take your pharmaceuticals, or you take your nutraceuticals, your vitamins, your minerals, your herbs, you intermittent fast. You do anything you can to get the body back so that it's using more energy for growth and repair. But the big factor is emotional stress. 75 to 90% of every person that walks into a healthcare facility in the Western world walks in because of psychological or emotional stress. Pretty much 4 out of 5 people, what's really causing their health condition is that they're emotionally stressed and emotionally out of balance. Okay, so what are the emotions that are connected to the stress hormones? It's anger, it's hatred, it's frustration, it's competition, it's control, it's judgment, it's envy, it's jealousy, it's insecurity, it's fear, it's anxiety, it's worry, it's angst, it's hopelessness, it's powerlessness, it's guilt, it's shame, it's unworthiness, and psychology calls these normal human states of consciousness. These are altered states of consciousness. So our response to someone or something in our environment, or our response to our own thought, an image of what could happen in the future, a memory of the past, could actually cause chemicals to be secreted from the brain that causes the body to actually believe it's living in that same environment of fear or danger, right? So that thought, when you're seeing that thought in your mind or remembering that image, it's the image and the emotion, it's the thought and the feeling, it's the stimulus and response that's immediately conditioning the body into that state of imbalance. So it's a scientific fact that the long-term effects of the hormones of stress push the genetic buttons and create disease. If you can turn on that stress response just by thought alone, your thoughts are literally going to make you sick. That's the greatest example of the mind-body connection. So the next fundamental question is, okay, if our thoughts could make us sick, is it possible that my thoughts could make me well? Well, if that's the case, then I'm going to have to manage my attention, and I'm going to have to manage my energy, because where I place my attention is where I place my energy. And I'm going to have to inhibit that thought that has conditioned the body to subconsciously be the mind. And the body's so objective that it does not know the difference between the real life experience that's creating that emotion and the emotion that person is fabricating by thought alone. To the body, it's exactly the same. So the body's believing it's being chased by a predator. The body's believing it's in an offensive situation where it has to attack. The body's believing it's constantly needing to be ready, and it's constantly out of homeostasis, it's constantly out of balance. It's in emergency, it's in fight or flight. It's a different system in the autonomic nervous system where you're stepping on the gas, where you're mobilizing enormous amounts of energy for some threat, some danger, real or imagined. But that thought and that feeling, the image, the emotion, the stimulus response is conditioning the body to automatically be the mind of that emotion. Now the body becomes conditioned and addicted. Now this gets to be a problem because people get addicted to their own thoughts, and they become addicted to the life they don't even like, because their response to the coworker, to the boss, to the ex is actually giving them a rush of energy, a rush of adrenaline, and they're associating that rush of energy with some problem or condition in their life. And now come time to change and manage your attention and manage your emotion, it's no different than breaking addiction to anything. There's cravings. The body wants to return back to how it's been conditioned, into the familiar past, into the known. The body starts saying to the mind, you can't, it's too hard, you'll never change, this is too uncomfortable, I don't like this, go back to make the same choice, do the same thing, create the same experience, feel the same emotion, so that you can return back to the known. And that's how people seamlessly return back to that same identity. So we only accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts that are equal to our emotional state.
Your brain is a memory bank. It's a record of everything you've learned and experienced to this moment. We could say that your brain is a record or an artifact of the past. So most people, when they wake up in the morning and they start their day, a brand new day where there's so many different possibilities, the first thing they do is they get their brain working and they start activating circuits in their brain that are connected to memories of the past. So they think about the problems in their life, and those problems are connected to certain people and certain things and certain times and places. And every one of those problems then has an emotion associated with them. So if thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of your body, and how you think and how you feel creates a state of being, if you're living by familiar and same thoughts and you're feeling the same emotions, and emotions are a record of the past, we could say that most people wake up in the morning and their entire state of being is in the past, in the familiar past. Now, every thought has a frequency. Every thought produces an energy. So we could say then, from a quantum perspective, you're thinking the same known thoughts the majority of the time that are producing the same frequencies. So then the same frequency is the same energy, and your life shouldn't change. And the only way your life can change is to change your energy. And nobody changes until they change their energy.
Most people then, they have that vision of the future, but they give up on that vision because in order for them to arrive at that vision, they have to do something. They have to think differently. They have to act differently. They have to feel differently. And it's so much easier to make the same choice every single day. And the hardest part about change is not making the same choice as you did the day before. And the moment you decide to make a different choice, you're going to feel uncomfortable because you're stepping from the known into the unknown. So some people would rather cling to their self-pity than take a chance and possibility. They'd rather tell the story of their past instead of telling the story of their future. They'd rather believe in their past instead of believe in their future. It's so much more important, though, to romance your future instead of romance your past. And I think if people understood that they could actually arrive at it, I think many people have done this already in their life. I think everybody, at least once in their life, has done something great. And when they did something great, they just made up their mind. And they made a decision in that moment to do something or to change with such firm intention that the amplitude of energy in making that choice caused their body to respond to their mind, that the choice that they were making to change became a moment in time that they would never forget. And the stronger the emotion they felt in order to change, the more they remembered the choice. And we could say then that they're giving their body a taste of the future emotionally, and they're literally aligning to that destiny. We discovered that if you keep doing that every day, somehow you'll arrive at that destiny, and your biology will literally begin to change to look like you're living in a different life.
To change, then, is to be greater than your environment, to be greater than the conditions in your world, and the environment is that seductive. So then, why is meditation the tool? Well, let's sit down, let's close our eyes, let's disconnect from your outer environment. So if you're seeing less things, there's less stimulation going to your brain.
If you're playing soft music or you have earplugs in, less sensory information coming to your brain, so you're disconnecting from your environment. If you can sit your body down and tell it to stay like an animal, stay right here. I'm going to feed you when we're done. You can get up and check your emails. You can do all your texts, but right now, you're going to sit there and obey me. So then, when you do that properly, and you're not eating anything or smelling anything or tasting anything, you're not up experiencing and feeling anything, you would have to agree with me that you're being defined by a thought, right? So when the body wants to go back to its emotional past, and you become aware that your attention is on that emotion, and where you place your attention is where you place your energy, you're siphoning your energy out of the present moment into the past, and you become aware of that, and you settle your body back down in the present moment, because it's saying, well, it's 8 o'clock, you normally get upset because you're in traffic around this time, and here you are sitting, and we're used to feeling anger, and you're off schedule. Oh, it's 11 o'clock, and you usually check your emails and judge everybody. Well, the body's looking for that predictable chemical state. Every time you become aware that you're doing that and your body is craving those emotions and you settle it back down into the present moment, you're telling the body it's no longer the mind, that you're the mind. And now your will is getting greater than the program. And if you keep doing this over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, just like training a stallion or a dog, it's just going to say, I'm going to sit. And the moment that happens, when the body's no longer the mind, when it finally surrenders, there's a liberation of energy. We go from particle to wave, from matter to energy, and we free ourselves from the chains of those emotions that keep us in the familiar past. And we've seen this thousands of times. In fact, we can actually predict it now on a brain scan. But if you start understanding what you're doing and why you're doing it, and the stronger the emotion you feel, the more you're going to pay attention to the picture in your mind. You begin to remember your future. You are branding that circuitry in your brain, and now you're emotionally conditioning your body into the future. Now, here's the side effect of that. If you can do that properly and become familiar with those states of mind and body, and you get up feeling like your future has already happened, I guarantee you're going to stop looking for it. The work is to be able to maintain that modified state of mind and body your entire day. You got to be able to sustain that state independent of your coworkers, independent of your boss, independent of your ex, independent of your finances, independent of the traffic. And if you're able to do that, you will begin to see the feedback in your life.
We'll never accept, believe, and surrender any thoughts that are not equal to your emotional state. So you could say, I'm abundant, I'm eternal, I'll live forever, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy. And if you're programmed your body into that emotional state, it's going to say, you're not that. Take a person whose identity is resentment, and their identity is anger and frustration and betrayal. And you ask them, why are you this way? And they'll say, I'm this way because of this event that happened to me 15 years ago. Stronger the emotion we feel from some event, the more altered we feel inside of us, the more that chemical continuity is disrupted from something that surprises us, that alters our state, the more the brain freezes a frame and takes a snapshot. That's called a memory. But the problem is that we think about that event over and over again after it happens. We're producing the same chemistry in the brain and body as if the event was occurring. And so the body is conditioned literally into the past. So you say the person's resentful about everything. They're seeing their life through the lens of resentment and frustration and anger, and everything's upsetting them. Well, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You say, okay, now it's an addiction. You got to change that. And the person goes, oh, okay, that makes sense. And now that you got to get out of the bleachers on the playing field and say, okay, these emotions could literally have something to do with my health. Just saying, if I stop feeling these emotions, what if I start feeling these emotions? Okay. What would be the emotions that would make me happy? These emotions are making me feel really bad. The memories are making me feel really bad. Can I remember a future? How would I feel if my future could happen? I got to trade those emotions for different emotions. Well, if I've been practicing feeling these emotions and I've conditioned my body to be the mind, it's going to take some time for me to start making different chemistry with the intention of making that chemistry, getting my body back into homeostasis and balance. Work on my breath. When I breathe, I change my state, practice breathing, work with your body so it can start to relax, so that it feels safe enough to feel something other than that again. And if it takes you 3 weeks, it would be worth it. So then person then starts, okay, I don't really know how to feel gratitude. Okay, well, maybe start going out and giving and give to people. I promise you, start giving, you'll start feeling grateful. And then start practicing feeling gratitude. Teach your body, just for 15 minutes a day, what it would like to feel gratitude, what it would be like. And our data shows that you take someone to do that for 4 days, 3 times a day. They make a immunoglobulin called immunoglobulin A. It's your body's natural flu shot. It's the greatest immune chemical we have. 50% increase in the subjects we studied in 4 days. Immunoglobulin A, up 50% in 4 days. Where is that chemistry coming from? They're not taking anything. It's coming from within them, right? What is the emotional signature of gratitude? When you receive something, or you just receive something, when something wonderful happened to you or something wonderful is happening to you, you feel grateful. So now, if you're in a state of gratitude, it makes total sense. Then you will accept, believe, and surrender the thoughts that are equal to that emotional state, and you could actually program your autonomic nervous system to make the pharmacy of chemicals that causes growth and repair to happen in the body. And that's exactly what we're discovering. So then, when people understand why they're doing it, the how gets easier. So you can assign meaning to the task and switch on the prefrontal cortex. And when you switch on that prefrontal cortex, it wants to get an outcome. It doesn't want to mess around. It wants the outcome. You're doing it for the outcome. And that's kind of a strong intention and a change in energy or an emotional state. And that's changing your state of being. And when you change your state of being like that every day, get ready, because you're going to start having synchronicities and coincidences and weird things start happening in your life, to prove to you that you're actually the creator of your life instead of the victim of your life.